Adidas logo. There's my logo. My hand is here. Look at that. Anyway, guys, apparently, because of this coronavirus in the UK, they don't want to put it on lockdown, but things are going to get a lot worse before they get better, as we all know about this coronavirus. Probably some people are sick of hearing people talking about the coronavirus. It was the same with Brexit. It was the same with Brexit. People got sick of that as well. And had to turn the channel over. Why do they not want to be quarantined people in the UK, which they are in some parts of the UK? I don't know where the bases are, where they are. They're somewhere in the UK. Some people are getting quarantined in an army base already. But the thing is, why did they not want to do lockdown? If it gets worse, then they'll have to do a lockdown in the UK. And then apparently they're saying they don't want to, as I'm watching on this news. Italy have had a lockdown. Any other country have had a lockdown, probably, compared to Italy. Italy's the worstest place of the coronavirus. If the UK is going to get worse, why don't they prepare themselves and help us prepare? And this is ridiculous. I'll let you guys figure out what to say about the video, what we've been watching. It's a bit ludicrous, to be honest, but you can have your opinion over it and let me know what you think. I'll just press play.
As Italy is in lockdown, the UK isn't yet, and health officials are defending their decision not to. The deputy chief
not to. They don't want to lock down the UK.
The UK could see epidemic numbers going into
silly, in my opinion,
in the next 2 weeks.
I think we will see many more cases, and this is slightly worrying. I realise it sounds
people are worried about it.
Numbers of people, but actually a lot of people have coughs and colds over the winter normally. A lot of people have flu. The important thing here is this is a new disease, and we need to be very careful about protecting those individuals who we think are most at risk.
On the day where we've seen the second highest daily rise in cases, up by 54 to a total of 373, and 6 people who have tested positive have died. The latest patient to die was being treated here. West Hertfordshire NHS Trust say he was in his early 80s and had underlying health conditions. There's also another worry, and that's coming from frontline medical staff. Dr. Neil Tucker is a GP in Oxford.
There's a lot of concern that we're at risk of getting the condition, and it's not so much that we're concerned about our own personal safety, because I think we all appreciate that the risk to most of us as individuals is very small with coronavirus, but I think we're worried about being vectors for the disease, and of course we'll routinely be seeing 30 patients or so face-to-face every single day in practice, and we're seeing some of the most vulnerable patients, the elderly, those with multiple chronic medical conditions, and the last thing we want to do is be putting them at risk.
But there was some good news for medical workers today, as the Health Secretary said the personal protection equipment they've been waiting for is finally reaching them. As the amount of cases has gone up, there's a rising demand in wanting to be tested. Channel 4 News has heard from people anxious at home self-isolating who are still waiting.
So what typically happens in this situation is there's always prioritisation to the patients that really urgently need the result. So you'll notice, for example, that if you have a patient with severe symptoms, their test result is likely to be turned around much faster because it has an effect on their treatment.
So how does the UK compare? As of March the 8th, 1,707 patients had been tested in the United States, according to their Centre for Disease Control. In the UK, by 8th of March, 23,513 people had been tested for COVID-19. If we look at South Korea, which had a massive outbreak, as of midnight on the 8th of March, they tested over 188,000 people. Officials in South Korea now believe that they have passed the peak of the infection.
The big difference between the situation in South Korea and the UK is much more likely not to be about the way the testing is done, but actually to be done to do with the outbreak dynamics and the number of people who are infected.
The government has released this new map showing the spread of the virus. In the coming days, we'll also be waiting for the release of their next steps, which could restrict our daily lives.
Well, joining me now is Dr. Rosalind Ego, an infectious disease modeller in public health epidemiology at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Dr. Rosalind Ego, what does your modelling tell you right now about what we might be looking at in 2 weeks' time and beyond, if you can?
So right now we're at what looks like the start of things. We've seen a lot of cases that have arrived from other countries, and now we're starting to see a little bit of community spread. So that means people who have acquired the infection in the UK. And over the next couple of weeks, we expect to see those numbers to grow. But
By how much can you say?
it's difficult.
I mean, if you're looking on a curve, where do we get
Yeah.
to?
So if no efforts are taken, it looks like the number of cases for this particular virus doubles in approximately 4 to 6 days. But in the UK, things are being done. So cases are being followed, they're being rapidly isolated, and their contacts are being found in order to decrease transmission. So we're not in a situation where nothing is being done.
But we're also getting reports that a lot of people with symptoms are not getting the tests because there's a delay in testing. So is there a possibility that the number of cases that are being declared is actually an underestimate?
That's often the case for all respiratory virus infections, that the number of cases that are observed is smaller. And what we have to do is increase testing as much as possible and get our viral surveillance systems looking for this in the right places to understand really what the epidemic is doing.
What do you mean by that, viral surveillance systems?
So in the UK, we have strong viral surveillance systems, especially for respiratory viruses, that take samples from patients at GPs, patients at hospitals, and look for what we call syndromic surveillance, so looking for people who are reporting symptoms consistent with the infection. And so through all of these different pieces of information, we can understand the bigger picture of what's happening with the epidemic in the UK.
Looking at the figures now and all the evidence, are you confident that the disease is being contained as the government suggests?
It's a difficult thing to say. We are starting to see more, as I said, these community cases, and as we see more of those, then it will become clear what we should do next.
But couldn't you put a lid on those if you act more aggressively, if the government acts more aggressively to curb big gatherings, close schools, the kind of things that other European countries are doing with a similar number of cases to ours?
So deciding when to put these extra measures in place is a really difficult decision, because people have to believe that that's the right thing to do if they're going to do it, if they're going to participate in these interventions, and we have to be able to keep them going as long as we need to really flatten out the curve. And that's the goal here, is to take these interventions, and what we're talking about is increasing what we call the social distance between people, so decreasing the contacts people have and decreasing the chance that we pass it, and flatten out the epidemic as long as possible.
Just very, very briefly, could we end up looking at a situation like Italy? Is that possible in the UK?
Well, we have to take this opportunity to learn from the other countries that have seen epidemics. And if nothing is done, then you can see many more cases. That's clear from a lot of countries now. So we have an opportunity to
But if we're not cancelling things like Cheltenham races, we're not learning from other countries taking swift, decisive action, right?
Making those decisions is really tough to balance the priorities. And the best advice is being given, scientific advice, to make those decisions.
Dr. Rosalind Eggo, thanks very much.
Airlines are struggling tonight to cope with mass cancellations as the virus outbreaks lead to plummeting demand for international flights. Ryanair and British Airways have cancelled their flights to and from Italy at least until early April. At the same time, the UK's hospitality industry is warning that it is already experiencing a drop-off in bookings as customers stay away from bars, restaurants and hotels. Our business and global trade correspondent Paul McNamara reports now from Leeds.
Cool.
Okay,
So
you
I'm
good?
just gonna, we're good. I'm just gonna open that up.
There's a whole lot of beer and a little bit of bother brewing in Leeds.
Well, our biggest seller is China. Is our biggest customer.
Okay,
Our second biggest is probably Italy.
right. 1.5 million pints are pumped out of this brewery every year, and a third of them are sent overseas. The last shipment to China set sail just 2 weeks before the coronavirus crisis hit.
We'd usually be brewing for the second order of the year now, which would go around April, May, but it's all on hold. We don't know when the next order's coming.
You literally have no idea.
No, I know. It's
next.
just indefinite hiatus at the moment.
And
So,
that is a shipping container
yeah,
full of beer.
it's a lot of beer. We brew quite a few different
A lot
lines
of beer,
for
a lot
it.
of money. I'm guessing.
A lot of money. Yeah.
So far, sales at home, their most important market, are holding up. But as for trips to festivals that could open up new business, it's a tough call.
So it's 6 international trips to be kind of planning in May. At the
Have you already
moment,
bought the flights for
we
them?
haven't bought any of the flights
Are
because
you
we're
going
on.
to?
we're holding off buying all flights until maybe like even the day before an event.
It's a thought process that's been echoed the world over. Today, Qantas announced it's cutting almost a quarter of international flights. British Airways and Ryanair have cancelled all flights to Italy until next month, and airlines globally fear losing billions.
Flights are frozen, visitor numbers are down. In other industries, supply chains are in limbo and companies are trying to work out how best to protect themselves. The truth is, we still don't know what the full effect of coronavirus will be on the wider economy. But on the industries at the forefront, there are already great big warning signs.
Last week, it was as if somebody flipped a switch, and we've had a real decline in footfall in city centres. Sales are down, sometimes as high as 50% down, and we've seen event cancellations and holiday cancellations going forward. So in the future, we've got no income and no trade coming in, and we've got a very tight squeeze at the present moment.
It doesn't take a retail expert to work out that can't continue for long before businesses face folding, jobs being lost. Government intervention may be required, and tomorrow may be the moment to announce it.
The directors are very, very interested in what the budget will say tomorrow. Yeah. And if there's going to be any provisions for small businesses in the budget, if there's going to be any tax relief, any help with national insurance or anything, because if we're not open for trading, we have salaries to pay, and that cash flow gets very tight very quickly.
Whatever options government is rolling around, doing nothing can't be one of them. Business expects something to be delivered.
Well, Donald Trump has said that the coronavirus will go away and that everyone should stay calm. He made the remarks after lunch with Republicans where they discussed his stimulus options to deal with the economic impact of COVID-19. Siobhan Kennedy is in Washington for us now. Siobhan.
Well, Kathy, the numbers here in the US are still relatively low, about 647 cases, 25 deaths, but the panic is certainly setting in. Florida today has declared a state of emergency, and the National Guard has been deployed to a new containment zone in upstate New York. And behind me there on Capitol Hill, congressmen and women have been issued new guidance today to stop shaking hands or touching each other during meetings. About an hour ago, the president emerged from a meeting with Republican senators where he was trying to sell his idea of a payroll tax break.
2 seconds, guys. Just got to pause it a minute. I had to pause the thing a minute. I was just seeing how long this video is on for. So we're going to keep continuing to film this video and put onto YouTube and various things. Like, I reckon the coronavirus is gone. I've got my chair now. Airborne, which it has. And I don't think they're going to be able to get on top of it. Which they're saying they're going to. More people are going to die before more are going to get better, as we all know. So it's just the way of the world. It's a shame that them 6 people have died in England, and I'm trying to think where else. Italy, and probably in Ireland, Scotland, and Wales are probably having their problems there as well. Anyway, I'll put the video back on, and we can learn some more about this video.
The virus, and he was instead asked about whether or not he had himself been tested after it emerged that 5 people that he had been in contact with had since gone into self-isolation because they had been in contact with people with the virus. Let's hear what his response to that was.
Well, I don't think it's a big deal. I would do it. I don't feel that any reason. I feel extremely good. I feel very good. But I guess it's not a big deal to get tested, and it's something I would do. But again, spoke to the White House doctor, terrific guy, talented guy. He said he sees no reason to do it. There's no symptoms, no anything.
I think it's fair enough to say that the president is still more obsessed with the economic impact of the virus than he is about the virus himself. His message very simple and one to consumers: keep calm and carry on spending.
The broadcaster Sky has sent home staff at its Cardiff call centre after a worker there was diagnosed with coronavirus. A deep clean of the offices is now said to be underway. As of this morning, the number of confirmed cases in Wales remained at 6. The operation to process calls from worried members of the public and to carry out laboratory testing is being led by Public Health Wales. Our Home Affairs correspondent Andy Davis spent today with their staff.
In the offices of Public Health Wales, in their main COVID call centre, they're fielding inquiry after inquiry.
What I'll do, I'll take some details from you, I'll put it through as an inquiry.
2 weeks ago, they had 6 manning the desks here. Now it's around 30.
Talk me through the call process. We start the call by just greeting them, so welcome them to Public Health Wales, and then just in a friendly tone so that they become relaxed. We're then looking to get as much information as we can from that individual on the phone.
What sort of questions are you asking in respect of symptoms?
Is it a cough? Is it a dry cough? Do you have a temperature? I appreciate that a lot of people at home maybe won't know what the temperature is. So we're just asking for, do you have sweats? Are you cold and light? Really, honestly, looking for as much information as we can capture.
They are administrative staff, nurses, registrars, consultants and scientists, giving advice, preparing some to be tested for coronavirus. From 8 in the morning till 10 at night, they're here, with the potential, we're told, to run 24 hours a day.
This is how it works. A call comes in here, which has been initially filtered through the NHS 111 system. It's then passed on to advisors over there who are supported by a consultant. And then this is another really important part of this process, the contact tracing cell,
where contacts of someone testing positive for coronavirus are categorised and those closest then monitored.
So close contacts we have under what's called active surveillance, where we will be telling them to self-isolate, and we will be checking on a daily basis for the next 14 days whether they developed any symptoms, and if they develop any symptoms, then we would arrange for them to be tested.
In the kit, you have some face visors. So we have 2 of those, just in case there's a problem with one.
And this is what the test kit looks like for those in Wales being assessed at home. From protective gear and bleach for those testing, to 2 tubes to collect duplicate samples.
So we depress the tongue, look to the back of the throat, and then the swab is taken from right at the back, so you might cough. One comes back to the lab for testing straight away.
And all the coronavirus testing in Wales happens here at the University Hospital in Cardiff. 50 samples a day on average, we filmed as the latest swab came in. It will take about 3 hours for this sample to be tested, DNA extracted in the process, and then eventually amplified enough for any coronavirus to be detected by this machine.
So along the bottom we can see that the patient's results, so the patient's lines are all negative and flat, and that's very good, that means they're not infected. So from start to finish, the results take about 3 hours for us to get. The challenge we have, obviously, is that we can't process every sample individually, so we're having to batch these samples together. Currently, we're performing about 2 runs a day, but we always have a coronavirus response person on hand to an additional run if needed.
Meanwhile, genomic sequencing of those positive cases, that's what you see here, is proving fertile territory for virologists.
It's phenomenal. We are seeing sequences being uploaded globally at a rate I've never seen before. We don't even see this for influenza. So we're seeing every day sort of 50 samples being uploaded from different parts of the world. We're tracking in real time what's happening in the United States. So as sequences are being put up, they can track that virus in as it's circulating in the population. It's quite incredible.
And this is helping them understand. How are you planning for a time when potentially into the community becomes a slightly redundant exercise? Would that be a fair?
I think that would be absolutely fair. So as we know with this illness that most people have a very mild infection, and so there is a point where we're going to have to just concentrate on those people who have severe enough infection to present to our hospitals.
That would be coupled with wider testing measures in the community. But for now, Wales, as with the rest of the UK, remains in the contain phase. The backup desks in the COVID contact centre set aside for what comes next.
Well, so things are going to get better, guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Let's see here. I think I've lost what I was watching then. Let's see. Trying to find what I'm looking for. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed it. Give it a like, give it a comment, and share it with your friends. And have a next stream. Peace.